I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed such great sin, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you. Genghis Khan. Hello everyone, my name is David Marchuk, and today I'll be giving an informative speech on the Mongol conquests, including the pros and cons. Hard places breed hard people, and Mongolia is without a doubt one of the hardest places in the world. Regardless, they would eventually become or create the largest land empire in world history. Beginning this journey, Temujin was born in the year 1162 to a minor Mongol chief. Unfortunately, his father was killed due to poisoning. This in turn led to his family being kicked out of the tribe, and he spent most of his youth going from tribe to tribe, and at some points even living in enslavement. Eventually, once he reached adulthood, he was able to raise an army due to the fact that he was a meritocracy where he appointed people based off their skill and merit rather than nobility or rank. This in turn made him very popular among the steppe nomads of the Mongolian steppe. With his rising popularity, he eventually defeated and united all the tribes of Mongolia. This culminated in what is known as the Kurultai in the year 1206, where he was finally declared the Great Khan, or as we know him, Genghis Khan, which ultimately means universal ruler. After finally uniting the Mongol tribes, Genghis Khan started by invading the northern Jin dynasty of China. At this time in world history, the Jin dynasty was by far the most advanced and populous nation in the world, even outnumbered 1 to 10 at times. But due to the fact that the Jin dynasty spread out their troops through various cities and fortifications, the Mongols were able to destroy each city and fortification one by one. And due to the larger population, they also ended up using fear tactics by exterminating whole populaces to subdue the civilization to subdue the citizens through fear. After finally subduing northern China, the Mongols eventually also subdued Central Asia. After creating their stronghold, Genghis Khan then sought peace relations with the neighboring Khwarezmian Empire, which encompassed modern-day Iran and Kazakhstan. He sent a trade merchant, a whole caravan, but unfortunately they seized the caravan, killing all the traders and taking all the goods. Genghis Khan, thinking that this was just a mistake, sent ambassadors, but those were also killed. This infuriated Genghis Khan. In retaliation, he invaded the Khwarezmian Empire, and within a matter of 3 years, he mercilessly killed and depopulated the area heavily. Afterwards, he eventually moved on to conquering modern-day Russia. After all of his conquests in Persia, he went to China to quell some rebellions in the provinces he conquered in northern China. But in the year 1226, August 18th, Genghis Khan finally died. But that didn't end his conquest. His sons and his grandsons would continue his conquest until eventually the Mongol Empire reached Iraq, parts of Turkey, almost all of Eastern Europe, Korea, and the rest of China, stopping short of actually invading and conquering all of mainland Europe. Moving on to the negatives of the Mongol conquests. The Mongols regularly exterminated whole populations. This in turn resulted in roughly 40 million deaths across all of the Mongol campaigns. That doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then, that was 11% of the world's population. He also destroyed many cities, destroying culture and texts and artifacts. Mongols were also responsible for destroying the Great Library of Baghdad, which at that time was the greatest Islamic library of knowledge. This in turn basically destroyed almost everything that the Muslims accumulated during the Golden Age of Islam. On top of this, the Mongols were also keen on biological warfare. Many times when besieging cities, whenever the city would resist, they would fling dead, diseased corpses over the walls to spread disease throughout those cities. This in turn indirectly led to the Black Plague, which, as you know, caused havoc in Europe. But aside from all those horrible things, Genghis Khan also in effect, since he connected Europe and Asia, basically revived the Silk Road. And due to the strict enforcement of the Mongol laws of no robbing, the Silk Road is basically like very, very safe. Like one merchant can go from Beijing, China, and go all the way to Kiev in modern day Ukraine without any robbers bothering him at all. This in turn created a lot of wealth for all sides involved, which also indirectly led to the spread of technology. Due to the fact that the Mongols brought in all the skilled people of the people they conquered, all artisans, engineers, all doctors, this in turn created like a stirring pot where all people could basically spread the knowledge around that they would have otherwise not been able to, because with all this unified land, they were able to finally speed the development of technology, including Chinese gunpowder, paper, math, and so on. They also were the first to create an international postal system, never seen before. And lastly, the Mongols' religious tolerance, which was never really seen since the Persians, allowed for them to rule their vast territories with peace, because they allowed all of their regions to practice their faith without any interference. In closing, despite Genghis Khan being a bloody tyrant, he also contributed to the development of our modern world. Whether good or bad is up for you to interpret. Thank you.